Hello, this is our Voice Stories channel. You're not invited to your sister's wedding. Mom's voice cracked through the calm like glass. I was sitting cross-legged on my hardwood floor, photographs scattered around me like autumn leaves. Vermont, gold and cream. A bride glowing in the kind of light I'd spent years chasing. Then came the call that turned the warmth cold. My mug slipped from my hand, shattering. Coffee bled across the prints, staining faces, blurring maple leaves into brown. "You'll ruin Emma's day," Mom said, each word clipped and deliberate. I just stared at the screen, at her name. Those same letters once meant home. Now they meant exile. I whispered it to myself, almost surprised. Exile. I captured 180 weddings through my lens. But never my sister's. Not the one where I wasn't welcome. Before the coffee dried, a truth hardened quietly inside me. They'd already taken too much. I wouldn't beg for entry again. That day, I stopped waiting for permission and started framing my own story. I never learned absence from empty chairs. It was taught in edited frames, in smiles that skipped me entirely. On Emma's birthdays, the cameras never malfunctioned. They just forgot where I stood. Mom always angled me behind balloons and elbows. Dad said, "Be gracious, be smaller." At 12, I won my first photography trophy. We placed it behind Emma's ribbon. "Don't make your sister feel bad," Mom murmured. Every Thanksgiving, the same choreography repeated. Adults glowing with stories at the main table. Kids sticky with cranberry sauce and apologies at theirs. Emma sat on Dad's lap, perfectly centered. When I mentioned art school, silence answered. Then came the sigh I'd memorized, patient, tired. "Be practical, Courtney. Be selfless for once." Selfless always meant invisible. I learned fairness in that house like it was a religion. Gifts with conditions, hugs with disclaimers, compliments diluted until they disappeared. Love came only if I could shrink enough to fit it. So I stopped asking for the front row. I memorized the edges of rooms instead. I became fluent in quiet exits, in polite disappearances. But the camera, it never lied. Preserved what people misread. Through glass, I could finally tell truth. A father's trembling hand during vows. The unguarded devotion of strangers who didn't need witnesses. Proof that tenderness didn't require permission. Noah was the first to notice. No ceremony, no prompting. He simply celebrated my first magazine cover by taping it to the fridge himself. No one told him to take it down. "Your work makes strangers feel seen," he said softly. "The problem isn't your brightness, Court. It's their sunglasses." The line landed like a diagnosis that freed me. I kept boxes of photos under my bed. My private museum of unedited truth. When Mom said, "Be selfless," I smiled and quietly tilted my lens a degree away. Every degree became distance, deliberate and silent. What I couldn't say at dinner, my shutter said for me. Only once did I misplace the frame, when I left myself outside of it. Chloe called one morning, her voice sharp. "Court, you need to see this." She texted a headline, "Miami, $800,000 wedding, white tulips flown from Holland." My stomach nodded. Emma's fiancé, Jason, had told her, "Your sister isn't invited. She steals attention." He'd never even met me. I opened Instagram anyway. Mom's caption hit harder than any photo. "Sometimes kindness is stepping back." Dust rose as I dragged family albums from the closet. In every portrait, I lingered on the margins, half-shadowed, always just out of center. History staged like theater blocking. My smiles were polite negotiations for someone else's comfort. Noah found me there, sitting amid the chaos, tracing old patterns. "Read what your clients wrote," he said, pulling up reviews that sounded like love letters. She saw who we were. She made our day feel honest. "These people see you," he whispered. "Your family just can't or won't." The room steadied. I exhaled like the tide leaving the shore. I didn't want revenge. I wanted direction. Something unarguable. Near midnight, my phone lit again. Emma's name. "Are you awake?" she whispered. "I miss you." "Then why am I uninvited?" "Mom's afraid you'll outshine everyone," she confessed. "It's hard being the favorite." "You're worried about expectations," I told her. "I've built my whole life around them." Silence swallowed the call. Outside, Seattle cooled against the windows. Noah pulled me close. "What if we leave town?" Not to escape, to breathe. We drove until the city thinned into pines. In the cabin's quiet, air smelled like rain and freedom. I spread travel brochures across the table. Not to run, but to begin. Noah opened his laptop, eyes bright. "There's a villa in Amalfi," he said, showing me sunlit cliffs over a sapphire sea. "Small weddings only. We could choose us." It wasn't rebellion, it was reclamation. My reflex rose, permission. I swallowed it, spine straightening. For years together, waiting for a family's green light that never turned green. I steadied my hands on the keyboard. September dates shimmered like a dare. What makes moments real isn't money or guests. It's honesty caught in the unguarded. I wanted that truth for us. We listed 25 names, people who truly showed up. No seats for guilt. The list itself felt like oxygen. I stood on the balcony, breathing deeper than I had in years. This choice wasn't between weddings. It was between versions of myself. We planned without theater. Vows at golden hour, candid lenses only. No stage, no performance. I emailed confirmations before sleep. Space opened where pleading used to live. I didn't need anyone's approval. I could light my own frame. Dawn spread across Seattle like thin gauze. I called my mother from the balcony. "Noah and I are getting married in Amalfi. September 15th. Silence, then the blade under fabric. "You'll cancel," Diane said evenly, "or you're no longer family." "I'm not asking permission," I replied. "You're stealing Emma's moment," she snapped. Dad appeared in the background, rehearsed sorrow in his tone. "Be selfless, Courtney. Your absence will be a gift." By noon, relatives joined the chorus, concern disguised as care. "Is Italy necessary, dear? Why provoke your sister? Real love doesn't need scenery." I archived each message like evidence. Luca, the planner, called later. "A woman asked about your event security," he said. "I told her nothing. Your privacy is sacred." That night, Emma texted again. "Is Italy beautiful?" she whispered. "Yes," I answered softly. 25 people who actually show up. 230 here," she replied. "Mostly Jason's people." Her lines sounded rehearsed. We locked our plans like shutters. Flights confirmed. Schedules mapped. Paperwork sealed. At dawn, we reached SeaTac, Gate A, Naples via Paris. My hands trembled, then steadied. Vermont flashed in my mind, coffee flooding ruined prints. This time, the air felt like mine. On the plane, Noah traced timelines. "Whatever they do," he said, "we're not getting smaller." Over the Atlantic, I drafted vows, not perfection or performance, just light that refused to dim politely. I wrote of frames large enough for breath. In Amalfi, Luca greeted us with a grin. "The light will be extraordinary," he promised. The cliff road wound upward, olive branches whispering. "Last chance to turn back," Noah teased. "There was never a chance," I smiled. Evening rehearsed tomorrow's rhythm. Cameras checked, terrace swept, sea humming below. I laid our guest list flat. 25 names that never wavered. No seats for permission. Only witnesses trained for truth. Night gathered soft. I wasn't auditioning for belonging anymore. I was preparing to belong to myself. They'd call it sabotage. Tomorrow our vows would call it freedom. Morning broke gold over stone. "West wind," Luca announced. "Test audio." Sophia adjusted her lens. Ryan checked batteries. Daniel noted beats. 25 chairs faced the horizon. My phone buzzed, a Seattle number. I let it ring, then turned it off. Guests arrived, genuine and unposed. Noah's mentor hugged me. "About time," he smiled. Then came a ripple, someone demanding entry. "She says she's family." Luca's tone was iron. "Only those on the list." I breathed slowly. This day wasn't a courtroom. It needed witnesses, not verdicts. Light deepened to honey. 10 minutes, Luca whispered. From the window, I saw Noah turn toward the sea, eyes closed, smiling. Choosing joy looked like that. The guitarist began Northern Sky. I stepped into the aisle, simple silk dress, no veil, no choreography. Faces I trusted arranged themselves like sunlight. Sophia raised her camera, then lowered it, choosing to witness instead. The officiant smiled. "I pronounce what you chose." Rings slid quietly into place. Metal, skin, and sunlight agreeing. Applause rose whole and unpracticed. A figure flickered at the far stairs, then retreated. The jasmine didn't tremble. Dinner unfolded like relief. Laughter real and unscripted. Oliver from Naples arrived breathless, holding his phone. "I caught something," he said, showing me. Our hands joined, framed by olive vines and Mediterranean blue, haloed in light. "Post it," I said. "Caption it truthfully." Night stitched bulbs into constellations. Guests danced without script. Noah pressed his forehead to mine. "We made the day we needed." Phones buzzed. Sophia's eyes widened. "Oliver photo is exploding," she said. Comments read like recognition. By morning, it wasn't just ours. It was a verdict. Dawn returned, soft and slow. The image had outrun the shoreline. Thousands, then hundreds of thousands saw it. A magazine called. A museum wanted the negative. Grace Monroe wrote, "I see you." I didn't cry. I simply breathed freely for once. We flew home beneath ordinary rain. Ordinary felt like ceremony now. Clients sent messages. Your day looked honest. Bookings filled months ahead. Noah drafted a project. Love without permission. Workshops for artists told to shrink. Grants for those denied belonging. I rehung my wall, not to rewrite history, but to relight it. 12-year-old me holding a trophy, no longer apologizing for shining. Emma texted carefully, "Your wedding looked like you." Mine looked like a brochure. "Forgiveness doesn't need reunion," I replied. "Peace doesn't need witnesses." Mom wrote once, "Your grandmother liked the picture." I pictured her smile and let the sentence stand alone. Later, a student's voice trembled. "My parents call this a hobby." I recognized the ache. "Your light isn't theft," I told her. "Don't make yourself smaller to fit." That night, walking home through damp streets, my reflection stared back. Unhidden, unapologetic. If you've ever faced this, you're not alone. Have you? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. Sunlight caught Oliver print on my desk. The olive leaves glowed. I thought of that first spilled coffee, how humiliation rewrote my air, and how choice rewrote it back. The sweetest revenge isn't destroying them. It's building the life they forbade, and living it completely visible. Goodbye.